Let's go to Frank Herzog. Frank?
Buck, it's an eerie scene down here on the mall. Parked police cars and motorcycle units, I would say probably 15 of them, just blew through here about 3 minutes ago and completely cleared out the area around the Washington Monument and halfway up the reflecting pool to the Lincoln Memorial. Speculation is it perhaps is to prepare for the arrival of the presidential motorcade. Mr. Bush, as you know, is in Florida this morning. He is on his way back to Washington. We talked to a White House employee who's standing near our camera side who says he thinks it's probably getting ready for Mr. Bush to come in. He'll come in by motorcade, not by helicopter. Helicopter's too dangerous. He also confirmed that the White House is a very secure institution right now, and with all those Secret Service men on the roof, it is even more secure. Continuing concerns down here about there being a step 2 attack. Namely, you saw the World Trade Center. It was 2 attacks there. There's been 1 hit here at the Pentagon. There's continuing concern that there may be a second. I can also confirm that the White House itself has been evacuated. Only about a dozen essential personnel remain in the executive mansion. It is under very tight security, as is the entire mall area. And once again, for an hour now, it has been nothing but the constant wail of sirens here as emergency crews try to help out as much as they possibly can. Mike, Andrea?
Thank you, Frank. We've been hearing world reaction. We have reaction now from Yasser Arafat.
We are completely shocked. Completely shocked. Unbelievable.
Senator Reyes, are you planning to call the U.S. President to convey the personal condolences?
I will send him directly a quick telegram.
That was reaction from Yasser Arafat. We're getting all sorts of world reaction to what has happened in New York, here in Washington, and no one has claimed responsibility for this, but experts say it takes a logistics operation from a terror group. It's the most audacious terrorist attacks that's ever taken place in the world. It takes a logistics operation from the terror group involved that is second to none, and only a very small handful of terror groups is on that list.
The federal government offices in the Washington area are closing for the day. All federal government employees may leave their offices immediately. Additional guidance on leave and work scheduling policies will be issued by the Office of Personnel Management. We're going to tap in now to KDKA television station in Pittsburgh for more on that plane crash in western Pennsylvania.
If you hang on the line just a moment or two, maybe someone else will be talking to you. Now, our producer was just talking to me. We're going to go to an airport spokesperson. Is that right? Okay, Bob Allen is live at the airport with a spokesperson. Bob?
Yes, you know, no planes leaving, none taking off, none coming in town. The last planes we saw land here were about 20 minutes ago. And in addition to all that, there's been a mass exodus from the airport, passengers, employees. But I'm told this is not exactly an evacuation. Joanne Jenny with the Airport Authority. Joanne, what is exactly going on?
Well, Bob, we're under advisement from the FAA. They have asked us to ground all aircraft. So no aircraft are departing and no aircraft are arriving. Folks that have travel plans today, they're in the thousands. Pittsburgh has more than 600 flights that leave and arrive here every day. So thousands of people's travel has been affected. Most of them are just not coming here because they know their flight's been canceled. A lot of the individuals who are connecting to other cities that have arrived here earlier this morning and need to connect to other cities, the airport has customer service staff that is in...
We were listening to KDKA in Pittsburgh where they're reacting to a possible plane crash involved in this whole situation. Let's recap just a little bit. If you're just tuning in, may not know what has happened elsewhere. From coast to coast, the United States is on highest alert following today's attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. It began shortly after 8:44 this morning in New York. You are looking at the remnants of the twin towers of the World Trade Center. At 8:44, a small plane crashed into one of the towers. About 18 minutes later, a larger plane, possibly believed to be a 757 or a 767, did that to the second tower. Glass, debris, jet fuel spilled down onto the ground. People down below were burned, cars were burned and destroyed, and countless people who were in the building killed or injured. We have no exact figures.
That's one of the World Trade Centers collapsing. This is the first trade center going down. 110 stories. Here's the second building going down.
Evacuations have been ordered at the United Nations building in New York, the Sears Tower in Chicago, all of these coming, and then
videotape.
right here in our own area. This is the collapse of the Twin Towers. The people down on the ground in shock.
50,000 people work in the Twin Towers. After the planes plowed into that building, they were in the process of trying to get those people out. We don't have a casualty figure, but Mayor Rudolph Giuliani says it's going to be
thousands of lives
it's
lost.
going to be a tremendous loss
Subway
of life.
not running, Wall Street closed down. And then about an hour after that, right here in the nation's capital at the Pentagon, the picture you see on the left, a plane plowing into the west side of the Pentagon building. A section of the Pentagon collapsed. We know of scores of people transported to area hospitals with injuries ranging from minor to serious burns.
Basically, what happened here this morning was terrorists on a suicide mission hijacked what appears to be 4 jetliners, 4 commercial jetliners. 2 plowed into the World Trade Center, 1 plowed into the Pentagon. American Airlines is now telling the Associated Press that Flight 77 out of Dulles to L.A. Flight 77 from Dulles to L.A., a Boeing 757, with 58 passengers, 4 flight attendants, 2 pilots, is one of 2 aircraft American says it has lost. That's Flight 77, which took off from Dulles this morning. The other plane that American lost is apparently Flight 11 from out of Boston, and it was headed for the West Coast.
Let's go to Gary Reels.
We're
He's
ready.
standing by at National Airport. Gary?
Okay, Andrea, as you've been reporting throughout the morning, we've been here at National Airport for the past hour to hour and a half. We're at the southern entrance to the airport as it comes off of the GW Parkway, as well as the Route 1 ramp into the southern part of the airport proper. It's been closed down pretty much for the past hour and a half now, and no sign of it. It probably is going to be closed at least into tomorrow. But there's right now here at the airport, over on the further south end, a bigger concern of fire and police authorities here is that a suspicious package, specifically an unmanned suitcase, was found along the grassy area over there along the general aviation terminal approach coming off of the airport ramp area. We don't know if they've been able to get to that at this point. They have cleared it. We understand now from Ratzo, our cameraman, that the suspicious package here at the south end of the airport has been cleared. So at least that threat has subsided now. But again, for the past couple of hours now, and I believe we have some video long, there has been a stream of both airport patrons as well as airport employees who have been evacuated from the main terminal area here at Reagan National. Also, we talked with some of the flight members, pilots, who have been part of that exodus from the terminal. They tell us that they know nothing, that one pilot came in on his normal scheduled arrival and obviously was told that the airport operations were closed down after he landed. Another one was getting ready to go out. He was told, sorry, all flights are canceled. And again, throughout the morning, it's been a very eerie scene here at the airport. Earlier on in the day, that black, thick smoke from the Pentagon wafted over here to the airport terminal just to punctuate the emergency of this whole situation. Right now, here at National Airport, Mike and Andrea, there's been a lot of rumors and everything, but as far as we know, there's no evidence that anything out of Reagan National has been attached in any way to the different crashes scattered around our country. Final point, let me just point out to you, and forgive me if you've reported this, Mike and Andrea, but we're understanding that the jetliner that was apparently hijacked out of Pittsburgh Airport and apparently crashed in western Pennsylvania, not far out of Pittsburgh in Somerset County up there, the speculation among law enforcement is that that plane had targeted Camp David and apparently came down for whatever reason before getting to the Thurmont, Maryland part of their route, if that's in fact what the plan was. Again, forgive me, I've been trying to keep up, and I think the plane crashed in Somerset County. Is that correct?
That is correct, Gary.
Near Pittsburgh.
And the thinking is among law enforcement, of course it's only a theory or speculation, that they were targeting Camp David in that aircraft.
Wow. All right, Gary, thank you very much.
Okay. All Maryland state offices are closing. All Maryland state offices except emergency offices are closing.
We have someone on the line with us. We had a lot of crosstalk, so we don't know who you are, but tell us your name, please, and your reaction and your thoughts on what's happening this morning.
Hi, I'm Peter Ravenhansen, professor of law at George Washington University Law School.
Professor, do you believe, I mean, isn't this this is like a nightmare?
Well, it's a nightmare, but it's been on the planning books of our anti-terrorist forces for some time. They've said it was coming, and there have been doubters who said they've exaggerated, and here it is.
Well, that's it. I mean, I've heard for years, oh, it's coming to the United States. Well, that started back in 1970. It arrived today.
Yeah.
So this proves that there is no way we can protect ourselves?
I think, yes, I think that's substantially true, that you can locate them after the event. You can go after host countries, but there's no absolute protection.
It's not going to be the same ever again, is it, Professor?
No. We get a little feeling of what it's like to be in Israel or other places that have been targets for years. I think it's going to change our attitude towards countries that have been hosts to terrorists, even though they weren't sponsors, like Afghanistan and Syria and other places. We may be more willing to go against the countries now and not just try to locate the terrorists themselves. But from the perspective of self-defense, I don't think there's much one can do to guarantee that there won't be a recurrence.
Was there any warning? I mean, were there reports? Did the State Department, CIA, FBI, did anybody have any warning?
I haven't heard anything to that effect. And it's odd in a way because the scale and the professionalism, the use of trained pilots and the navigation skills and the timing all suggest that this is no small cell.
Absolutely.
Professor? It makes it likely that they would have heard.
Professor, thank you very much, sir.
We want to go right now to Virginia Hospital Center, where we know dozens of injured from the Pentagon have been transported. Jennifer Ryan is there. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Andrea. We are at Arlington Hospital. Let me show you the folks behind me. These are trauma teams. They are just waiting for people to pull up here in this circle so they can bring them into the hospital. So far, we have seen 23 people arrive from the Pentagon with various cuts, bruises, burns, complaining of shortness of breath. We just saw a personal van, somebody who loaded 3 people into the back of that van, pull up here. Stretchers were hurried to the back of the van, and the 3 people were put on those stretchers and brought right inside. As you can see, the teams are just waiting. They've heard about their possibly being problems at the Pentagon with some of the folks there who were involved in the fire and the explosion there. And indeed, we are seeing some people. Let me tell you, though, I just made the commute in from Washington. It is extremely tough to get into the city. So these people who you see who have been brought here had to go on quite a trek. We've seen ambulances. We've seen some employees' private vehicles, it seems. We've also seen people in military garb. And when I asked one of the gentlemen who had brought 3 people in if he was going back, he said, yes, I'm going back. I'm getting as many more as I can who need help, and I'm going to bring them here. We've seen some people also drive up in their own personal vehicles. But again, we are at Arlington Hospital. This is the hospital that is handling a lot of the trauma that is coming in from the Pentagon, from that scene. And these people, again, just waiting on the curbs for the next vehicle to pull in. In so many cases, they don't know what they're getting because these are private vehicles. These are civilians who are helping other civilians. These are workers who are putting people in their own vehicles. and trying to get them help. There's a vehicle right behind me. It's a white Explorer, and there was a person that was just brought out of that vehicle and hurried into the hospital. So we're seeing all different types of things. It's been about 5 minutes. We haven't seen a vehicle come up, but we'll let you know as soon as something else happens here. One of the many hospitals, of course, that are seeing problems. We also want to alert you. We're hearing about severe blood shortages in Virginia, D.C., Maryland. If you are near a blood bank or a Red Cross service, if you can, I'm going to give you a number. I know we don't have it on screen yet, but it's an easy number to remember. 1-866-BLOOD-SAVES. If you can donate blood, they are in severe need of blood this morning. Also, all emergency workers, many throughout this region, are being asked to go to work and to report to their normal stations. As you can see, all hands are on deck here at Arlington. They are waiting for the next trauma to come in from the Pentagon. We will let you know when anything else happens. We're also trying to effort somebody from the Public Service Office. In fact, I believe we have somebody coming out now. Hi, I'm Jennifer Ryan from Channel 9. Thanks for joining us. You're Amy Goodwin.
Yes, I'm the Director of Public Relations, Virginia Hospital Center, Arlington. At this point, we have 22 victims.
We're seeing another vehicle pull up right behind you now. Keep talking us through this.
There are still people coming at this time. They're all from the Pentagon location.
We're also hearing a helicopter. I know that's going to distract some people, but tell us exactly what happens with your team.
What we've got going on here, we have called in all of our surgeons, a number of our surgeons, I shouldn't say all of them, a number of our medical team, and what you're seeing right now is them in action working to make sure that patients get care as quickly as possible.
This is a young man who is coming in. We can see he's probably in his 30s. He looks like he may be a Pentagon worker.
I can't tell you anything about the specifics. Most of the people that we have seen are employees of the Pentagon. They're suffering from a variety of medical issues, a variety in the degree of severity.
Right. Let's pan back to the next vehicle that has just pulled up. Another team is moving in once again. Can you tell me quickly, you have how many people here? We have seen 2 more come in. What is the number now?
It would be 24 at this point.
24. We are live at Arlington Hospital. Back to you.
All right, American Airlines has confirmed that Flight 77 from Dulles to Los Angeles, the Boeing 757 with 58 passengers, 4 flight attendants, and 2 pilots, is one of 2 of its aircraft lost in the tragedies today. Peggy Fox is at Dulles Airport. Peggy? Can you hear me, Peggy?
Let me just pick up on what
evacuated very.
I'm sorry, go
Peggy, is that you?
Yes, I'm
Go
on my
ahead.
cell phone, and it's been very difficult getting through on any cell lines, as many people have found out, trying to reach their loved ones today. But Dulles Airport looks like a ghost town right now. Planes are parked at the gate, completely empty. It looks like everyone just vanished. The only people really left here now are the employees, who are desperately trying to figure out how to get to their cars, which are in the far parking lots. You know, we're hearing rumors about a plane that was been circling Dulles. We haven't seen anything like that, but everyone's very nervous here. I don't know if you can hear this truck in the background. They're moving Jersey barriers up. I'm up on the top deck where departures, where you drop off people in the departures line, and they're putting these huge Jersey barriers, obviously to keep anybody from coming in. Any sort of car bombs or anything like that, but it's emptying very quickly here at Dulles.
All right, Peggy, thank you very much. Getting confirmation now from United Airlines. United has lost a jet, Flight 93. It was going from Newark to San Francisco. That's apparently the plane that...
The plane that was at Somerset County Airport, believed to be a 747 jumbo jet. We have D.C. Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton on the phone. Delegate Holmes Norton, how are you, and what's the reaction on Capitol Hill?
Well, I was on my way into the Capitol for back-to-back press conferences when I saw what had happened at the Pentagon and called my office and said everyone should leave because it was clear that they were targeting high-profile buildings in our country. And that was just before the Capitol itself closed down. Our prayers and our hopes are with the victims. In this town, we may have to organize a citywide blood drive. This is the closest to war I think anyone has ever seen on our shores. Fortunately, we have the best armed forces in the United States, and so now that we see what has happened, I am sure it is going to be taken care of. In the meantime, I do want to say to everybody that this is the time to remain calm and at home. and to trust those of us in the Congress and in the government to do a total reevaluation of our security needs. I don't think you will hear anything else from the Congress, certainly this week, except how could this have happened in our country. I don't think it happened in the usual way. I don't think that whoever these terrorists are, they came through our airports the way you and I came through. But they must have another way to get here. We've got to find it out. That's our obligation. Meanwhile, it's the obligation of every citizen to remain calm and to do what you can to help your neighbors remain calm and to wait for word as to what you are to do tomorrow. I am concerned that children in the District of Columbia are at school, but I think it is better for the children to remain at school now because the roads are clogged with people coming home. And they, of course, we will see the children get home, but I think for the children out in the street now would also not be in the best interest of the city or the children. As for grown-ups, it is good for people to start home and to wait for news by looking at Channel 9 instead of jumping to conclusions as to what we should be doing, and then pray for the victims.
All right. Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, thank you very much.
Good to talk.
When do you think you'd be able to go back to your offices on the Hill? Has anybody given you any indication since they were evacuating Capitol Hill?
I had intended to go in even today. I have two members of my staff here. I let everybody else go home because I felt for sure we'd go in. I have a bill on the floor that was to come on today, but it is clear that nobody would open a single government building today. I do hope that the government will be open for business tomorrow because by that time the armed forces of the United States will be on duty throughout the United States. We cannot close down our country. We cannot let terrorism close down the nation's capital in particular. I live 9 blocks from the Capitol, so I feel that I'm still close to the target.
We heard, Congresswoman, that several members of Congress were taken to a secure location. Is that true?
I'm not sure, but I believe that the president and the leadership may well be taken to a secure location where they can meet.
Right.
As you've seen, unless you're talking, I'm not talking on a cell phone. I'm talking on a landline.
Yeah.
But as you can see, we need face-to-face meetings with our leaders in order to know what to do tomorrow. And I'm sure that's happening. I'm sure the president is on his way back to the White House. And I'm certain that the leadership of the Congress has not simply gone home to watch Channel 9 the way members of Congress are right now. Most members of Congress know only what you are telling us. There's no way to be in touch with 440 members and 100 senators. So we're watching Channel 9 to find out what's going on.
All right, thank
Delegate,
you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to Gordon Peterson at the Pentagon. We're looking live at a picture in smoke and flames coming out of still some buildings there. Gordon?
Dave Stout is with me. Dave, those flames, if I'm not mistaken, just erupted from that...
The firefighters are having a tough time with this. Most of the fire, when we first started watching this earlier today and we first got here, most of the fire was in the center area where the collapse area is, and then it's gradually moved out. The Pentagon is a very tough building to fight a fire in, a lot of nooks and crannies. The fire just erupted as far away as we've seen now from the center where the crash occurred. Another thing that's happened here in the last 15 minutes or so, another thing that's happened here is for the second, if not the third time, FBI has come running for everybody to back off. A concern about another plane in the area. We have not seen any other planes in the area except an F-16 about half hour, 45 minutes ago that flew over. The only other aircraft in the area are police helicopters that have landed for medevacs and also for patrol purposes.
And about 10 minutes ago, a bunch of people over there were hoofing it away from the Pentagon.
That's because of the warning that came from the FBI agents who said, again, everybody get back. That happened earlier this morning, at least once or twice earlier, and so far we have seen no other aircraft in the area.
Well, they double-timed out and then they marched back. Here's Larry Topper, who's a contractor with the U.S. Army. You were inside on the second floor E-wing, 6th corridor, right?
Yes, I was.
Tell us what that was like.
Well, I was literally watching the TV broadcast of the World Trade Towers crash, and all of a sudden we heard a loud shout to evacuate the building. And some of the folks that I was with said they could feel the building shake, and they heard the muffled sound of the explosion. But I neither felt it nor heard it. But I could tell that it wasn't a drill. I knew that it was a serious evacuation, and people immediately dropped what they were doing and began to evacuate the building. And it was fairly controlled chaos, actually. The halls were pretty packed. and we tried to exit in the area of the 5th corridor, but they wouldn't let us do that because they were blocking everybody off, so we had to turn around and go back the other way. And I finally ended up down in the Pentagon's main concourse trying to get out there, but the halls were just packed. There was no sign of panic, but there was a lot of concern on people's faces. You could tell that. I mean, everybody knew it was serious, and everybody was intent on getting out, but there was a lot of cooperation, no pushing and shoving. And I finally exited in the area of the Metro Center, the bus stops, and got away from the building as fast as I could. And as we were going through the A ring, you could look across the center courtyard to the other side of the building, and you could see the huge billows of black and gray smoke just coming up over the top of the building and across the courtyard and to the over towards Pentagon City. And you could actually smell the smoke in the hallways as we were coming out. It wasn't real thick or anything like that where it was dangerous, but you could smell it in the hallways. You could actually see it, and there was a little bit foggy, more or less, as you're trying to walk through some of the hallways. But I didn't really see the extent of the damage until I came around this side of the building where we're standing now, and I'm facing at the site of the impact.
How far away were you from the impact area?
I was 2 corridors away, so I would just guess maybe, I'm just guessing 200 yards, and I was on a different side of the building. The building, of course, has 5 sides, and I was on the very next side to where the impact was.
Are there standing operating procedures for evacuation? I assume there are, and that you followed them. But however, has anybody anticipated an event of this magnitude occurring at the Pentagon?
Well, there are standard operating procedures, and periodically they do have evacuation drills. But I don't recall us having recently had an evacuation drill for the whole building. They usually do one section at a time. But in this case...
All right, we're going to interrupt here. We're going to go live to a news conference. American Airlines up in Boston.
Increased our security measures. We've shut down all the construction sites within Logan Airport, both airside and landside. And we've shut down all security checkpoints and removed all passengers who had been previously screened out into the non-secure part of the airport. We've activated our Family Assistance Center at the Hilton Hotel based upon some reports that some of these flights may have originated from Boston. We're asking the media's assistance to notify any family members that may have had families flying on those flights that we've had various reports on to call these following numbers. American Airlines, 800-245-0999. Secondly, family members can call a Massport number, 617-568-3100. We've also urging people not to come to the airport at this point in time. We've increased the shuttle buses from the terminals to the MBTA Blue Line stop, and the MBTA has increased the frequency of subway transportation. We are in close communication with the FAA, the FBI, State Police, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And that's all I have right now.
Joe, you've got to tell us more about these planes that left this morning.
What flights do you have reports on?
All right, we want to give you some information. Local school districts in this area. First, Governor Paris Glendening has authorized local school boards throughout the state of Maryland to authorize schools to close. So Montgomery County schools will be closing 90 minutes early today. Prince George's and Talbot County had already informed us that they were closing 2 hours. Montgomery County schools closing an hour and a half early. Prince George's and Talbot County closing 2 hours early. All train service in and out of Union Station is suspended until further notice. Mark will be running buses at the New Carrollton, Silver Spring, Branch Avenue, and Shady Grove metro stations. The buses will then go to suburban Mark stations. There are no bus schedules. Buses will take people in, away, and back as soon as they fill up. VRE will be suspending all of its service. So again, no train service out of Union Station. The GW Parkway, All lanes are now one-way northbound to help commuters get out of the city back to their homes in the other areas. That's the latest we have, and we'll keep you updated.
Do we have something about the National Guard?
Oh, yes. Governor Gilmore has put the Virginia National Guard on alert. Also, 300 members of the Virginia Air National Guard on alert.
Let's go to Gary Reels. He's at Reagan National. Gary?
Okay, Mike and Andrea, let me tell you, there's still an extremely high state of alert here at National Airport. Of course, the airport's been closed down for a couple of hours now. Vanessa in our truck's going to switch to our mass cam, and we're going to show you a couple of helicopters. There are at least 2 flying directly overhead over the airport landing area, the runways here. And we understand, Mike and Andrea, perhaps you can tell me, because it's somewhat among loose talk, but is there still an aircraft, a commercial aircraft, missing from our skies somewhere along the way this morning?
I don't believe so.
No,
I think
we don't.
All accounted for?
Yeah, here's what we got, Gary. 2 American airline jets were hijacked. 2 United airline jets were hijacked.
The one in Somerset County was a United flight as well.
Yeah, United Flight 93 apparently went down near Pittsburgh. American Airlines Flight 77. It left Dulles this morning for L.A. That's one of the planes that was hijacked by terrorists and then crashed. Another plane was also out of Dulles. United Flight 175 out of Dulles bound for L.A. The 4th plane involved was American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston. It was headed out to the West Coast.
And that's the one that crashed into the World Trade Center.
I think so far we've got everything in the everything accounted for at this point.
All right, Gary, we want to let you know George Washington University canceled classes. Catholic University classes are canceled. Let's go to Verge Jacques. He's downtown Washington. Verge?
Andrea, I'm standing in front of the U.S. Capitol, and we've just been told that members of Congress are being briefed by the FBI right now. Of course, the Capitol, as we've been reporting, has been shut down in unprecedented scene downtown here. If you take a look behind me, you'll see nothing but gridlock. This is the way it is all around the Capitol this morning, bumper to bumper, very slow going. The grounds of the Capitol have been cleared, and an unprecedented sight near the White House earlier. We saw officers walking around with machine guns and their firearms displayed. Something you just would never imagine happening here in our nation's capital. Of course, everyone has been affected by this one way or another. People have been standing around our truck watching and listening to news reports. Many tourists here. I talked with a young lady standing over here, Catherine Exelson. She's from Denmark originally, but she lives in Manhattan. She had visited the Capitol earlier this morning and was trying to get into the White House, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what did they tell you?
We were in the line, waiting in the public line to get in, and somebody started running and said there was a bomb threat. So we waited kind of for the police to come around, and then somebody said we had to move. We didn't actually know what was happened, so we waited, and then we asked a guy with the radio on in his car, and they said that Twin Towers has been hit in New York and the Pentagon with some hijacked planes or something like that. So.
Now, you live in Manhattan right now.
Yeah.
When you heard about what had happened, how shocked were you by it?
I'm still in shock because I can't imagine the consequences. How many people are working in Twin Towers and the plane if they're crashed into the street, and I'm not imagining it yet, so I'm still kind of shocked also because we know somebody who works nearby, so, and we can't get contact with anybody on the phone. All cell phones are down.
And of course you have no way to get back home right now because all flights have been canceled.
Our car is stuck in a building. We can't get into the building and nobody can get out of the city, so we're stuck here and we don't know what to do. So.
All right, Catherine, thank you very much. That story is being repeated in many places around town. Once again, the U.S. Capitol has been shut down. Members of Congress are meeting with FBI agents right now. Washington under siege, a state of gridlock in and around the U.S. Capitol, as well as many other points in our nation's capital as a result of this attack, not only here, but the horrendous loss of life in New York City at the World Trade Center. Andrea, Mike?
All right, Jacques, thank you.
We just want to let you know Metro says the Pentagon and national airport stations are shut down. Trains are running through, but they are not stopping at Metro's Pentagon and national airport stations. The yellow line from Huntington is switching its route to run through Arlington Cemetery and out to Stadium Armory. As for bus service, spokeswoman Cheryl Johnson says most service is a mess due to the heavy traffic.
Let's go to Gordon Peterson at the Pentagon. Gordo? Gordon, can you hear me?
Are you talking to, I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah. Dave?
Yes.
They're moving away.
They're moving. Listen, we've just been, we've had, as we said various times, people have been forced away from the building because of concern about another aircraft coming in. We see a bunch of people now moving toward us again away from the building. We have not heard of another threat possibility. We can tell you the firefighting operations continue here, and I'm sure they're looking for those who may be dead or injured, any others that may be in there. Still a good deal of fire in the building, the Pentagon. Gordon Peterson is here with an eyewitness. Gordon?
Dave, before I start with the eyewitness, tell us about the smoke. You were talking about the smoke earlier.
Well, earlier there was a lot more black smoke, and there's still fire in the building, but there are some spots that were black smoke before that are now white smoke that seems to be they're getting some water on the fire. That's a good sign, but still the fire has broken out a little bit, a good distance away on this side of the building from where the fire started, and toward the, I guess that's the inner courtyard area, toward the opposite from where we are. There's still a great deal of black smoke coming out. It's a very difficult building to fight a fire in from previous experience of firefighters we've talked to who've fought fires in this building.
All right, Dave and I are standing here thanks to Heather Cabot with Harry Goad, who was the Space Policy and Acquisition Division of DOD. You're on the 5th floor, and you saw this thing coming?
I did.
Tell us what happened.
We were just watching the World Trade Center on the internet, and I turned around, and I'm at a very large window, and I turned around and looked, and I saw the silver 757, it looked like to me, veering from the registered course over the Potomac River, and it had no landing gear down, and it was coming very, very rapidly, and then it took a dive, maybe a couple of miles, maybe over Roslyn. It took a dive into this building, and I saw it coming, and I hollered, "Hit the deck," and everybody in the office hit the deck because they knew that the World Trade Center was on fire.
So you figured this was it?
This was it. They were coming in, and you know, they're going to hit a lot of buildings, and this is going to be one of them.
So there's no question in your mind that the pilot, whoever was piloting that aircraft, was aiming for the building?
He was aiming for the building, but he could have went into center court mighty easily, which would have really done some damage, and I don't know, but whoever hit the outside, God bless him, because that's that also is an area of the Pentagon that's going to be under renovation. We've already done one wedge, and we've moved a lot of people out of this wedge here over there.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference from the pictures here than in New York, that the plane did not seem to penetrate the building as it did in New York.
That's correct. I didn't see, you know, I was really surprised at the impact. It was sort of, we've got an interceptor going up there now. I don't know what for. But the impact was not as great as I thought it was going to be.
There's an F-15 just above us right now as we're talking. Fighter aircraft.
So the impact was, it didn't seem as heavy as I thought it was going to be. It was a very light rumble from the other side of the Pentagon. The Pentagon is well fortified, but I don't know how well fortified it'd be right up against a wall there. So.
In the area that collapsed seemed to be the center part of where the plane probably hit the building. It didn't collapse till much later. I was here, I guess, about a half hour, 45 minutes. We watched that portion collapse, mainly from the structural damage from the airplane hitting it, and also from the great deal of fire that was in that center area. We can say the fire finally on the outside of the building toward the south side of the building, the southwest corner there, is finally out. There seemed to be some sort of flammable liquid, and that's near the construction trailers also that were still there. That's finally out, but still a great deal of fire. And if you look, Mike Trammell, if you can show us to the left side of the building, the great deal of black smoke that's coming out.
Moving out. Lots of ambulances. Mike's pan left if you can.
Yeah, we can also show you the
ambulances moving out.
A group of ambulances moving out. We do not know if they're carrying patients.
There's a bus from Walter Reed Army Medical Center.
Bethesda Chevy
Chase Rescue Squad. Fort Belvoir. Life Care.
We don't know if they're just coming in or leaving, going to the hospital. They could be staging. We don't know. But right now, Mike, if you can go back to the Pentagon slowly, we can show you a great deal of fire again coming out of the Pentagon on the west side, right in front of where the helipad would be. This is about as far away as you can get from where the crash impact was. This fire has spread through the building, the bowels of this building, and now has erupted here. So this is a big problem for Arlington firefighters who've been assisted by D.C. and military.
Another ambulance, Silver Spring Critical Care. Harry, what was the reaction of your co-workers at the point of impact?
Calm, excitable, and excitable, but in a calm way, and just, you know, my God, and we went out the building, and the emergency exit lights came on, strobe lights and everything. So we were out of the building and gone in a very little short time.
As Pentagon employees, what have you heard over the years about the possibility of terrorist attacks?
We've speculated myself. I've been here 11 years, and I've speculated myself that we're in the airway here to National, and it would be very easy to hit the Pentagon.
We're going to keep you updated on what's happening at the Pentagon. Obviously, the flames coming out. But we want to go back to Jennifer Ryan at the Virginia Hospital Center. She has the latest on the injured taken there. Jennifer?
Hi, Andrea. We're just hearing ambulance sirens in the distance. I think you might see one coming up in just a moment. But let me show you first right behind me. These are the trauma folks. Here's a man walking up. You can see now in a white shirt. There's blood on his shirt. He's holding his wrist. Don't know, of course, the nature of any injuries. He's obviously been able to walk. We have seen people walk up. We've seen them being driven up, some of them by ambulance, some of them by personal car. But again, you are watching live television now at Arlington Hospital, where so many of the Pentagon victims are coming here in any way they possibly can. The commute is difficult. Let me also tell you what these folks are dealing with. Not only 28 victims, this is now the 29th. We have 29 as far as our count goes, but they are having an extreme shortage here around the Washington area for blood. We are also told they need IVs, tubes, tubing. They need oxygen tanks. They need all kinds of equipment that is running out quickly. I just spoke to an ambulance crew who came in, grabbed as many supplies as they could, as they were allowed. They put them back into their ambulance and then headed out once again. But as you can see, these teams are all here waiting, standing by. There has been the question about whether or not biological weapons could have been used in today's attack on the Pentagon. I was told by the public service person here that there is no indication. And just a few seconds later, I had a doctor come up to me and he said, there's no indication thus far. He wanting to clarify. In the last few minutes, we have also seen many of these folks. They were in plain clothes. Many of them might have been media folks or nursing supervisors or what have you. They were given masks. They were also given their blue robes. Here's more supplies. This is a Fairfax County fire and rescue paramedic who was coming now to supply his Franconia Company number 5 with more IVs and other supplies. As we said before, these guys have been running all morning long. They're trying to keep everything equipped, and they're trying to keep people moving along. As you can see, some people, this woman, just confused about what's going on. Maybe she's trying to get into the hospital. They're trying to keep everything clear because at any time, oftentimes with no warning at all, they've got people walking up, they have people being driven up into this area. To recap, we're at Arlington Hospital in Fairfax County, in Arlington, I'm sorry, and we